What if I told you Japan has quietly outperformed the US, China, and Korea for 25 years straight? Not in GDP, not in military power, but in something far more fundamental: economic complexity. Since 1995, Japan has ranked number 1 in a global index that most people have never even heard of. It's not a popularity contest. It's a measurement of what a country can actually make and how advanced its knowledge is. While other countries chase headlines and hype, Japan has quietly built a system of dominance, hidden in the parts, materials, and technologies inside the very devices we use every day. From smartphones to airplanes, from electric cars to medical robots, Japan doesn't always build the final product, but the heart of the technology? It's often Japanese. In this video, we'll explore what this invisible power really is, why Japan remains unbeatable in this field, and whether any country can catch up. Let's begin with one simple question. Why is Japan still number 1 after all this time? Section 1. Why is Japan still number 1? Did you know Japan has ranked number 1 in a global economic index for over 25 years? Most people don't, because it's not GDP. It's not about money or military. It's about something deeper: what a country can actually make. This ranking is called the Economic Complexity Index. It measures how advanced a country's production knowledge really is, not how rich it is, or how flashy its tech looks. While the US was building giants like Apple and Amazon, Japan was quietly mastering materials, robotics, and semiconductors. They weren't loud, but they were everywhere inside the world's most advanced products. Here's the surprising part. This isn't just about Toyota or Sony. It's about hundreds of Japanese companies, specializing in one small part of the puzzle, and doing it better than anyone else. And while countries like China and Korea caught up in smartphones and displays, they still rely on Japanese components to make them work. Now think about this. In your phone, your car, your laptop, how many parts come from Japan? Even if it says made in China. What if the most critical parts were quietly Japanese? Why do you think Japan excels at these invisible, behind-the-scenes technologies? Is it culture, history, or something deeper? Let's explore what makes Japan silently unbeatable. Section 2. The global ranking most Americans have never heard of. What if the most important economic ranking in the world isn't GDP at all? Not stock prices, not unemployment, not trade deficits, but something called the Economic Complexity Index. It was developed by researchers at Harvard's Growth Lab, and it measures something different, something deeper. Not just how much a country exports, but how advanced and diverse those exports are. The idea is simple. A country that makes only shirts and shoes doesn't need much specialized knowledge, but one that makes robots, sensors, and surgical lasers? That's a whole different level. And here's the twist. This ranking doesn't care how rich a country is. It cares how smart its economy is. The US may lead the world in branding and entertainment, but in terms of production knowledge, Japan is miles ahead. Why? Because Japan produces things that only a handful of nations can produce. High-purity chemicals, advanced machine tools, microscopic parts that go inside devices the world takes for granted. This isn't about showmanship. It's about skill, patience, and long-term focus. So the next time someone tells you Japan's economy is declining, ask them this: then why does it still top the one ranking that measures real economic strength? Section 3. The numbers that shock the world. What if I told you Japan never lost its lead, not even once, since 1995? That's right. For more than 25 years, Japan has ranked number 1 in the world, in a category where even the US and China fell behind. According to Harvard's Economic Complexity Index, the US dropped from 9th place to 12th. China climbed from 46th to 17th. Korea jumped from 21st to 4th. And Japan, number 1, every single year. No exceptions. This isn't some small niche list. It measures real productive capability. What a country is able to create, not just consume. So, while Japan's GDP may look flat, and headlines say the country is aging, the real story is this: Japan still makes the world's most advanced materials, most precise components, and most complex technologies. Even more shocking, in 2020 and 2021 alone, Japan had 58 products where its global market share was 100%. Yes, 100%. And 94 products where Japan controlled over 90% of the global market. That's not fading. That's dominance. So ask yourself, why does no one talk about this? Is it because Japan doesn't advertise it? Or because the world doesn't understand how deep its strength goes? Either way, the numbers don't lie. Section 4: The power of unseen materials. What's the most powerful part of your phone that you'll never see? It's not the screen, not the camera. It's the tiny, invisible pieces deep inside. And many of them come from Japan. We're talking about ultra-pure chemicals, thermal materials that manage heat, filters that shape wireless signals, microscopic sensors that guide precision. These things don't look impressive. You can't show them off on Instagram. But without them, your phone won't work, your car won't move, your laptop won't even turn on. And here's the crazy part: Japan makes most of these things. Not just a few, most of them. In fact, Japan holds a majority global share in over 160 high-tech products, from semiconductor chemicals to polarizing films, from camera lenses to capacitor materials. Japan quietly leads. You might never see a label that says Japan inside, but it's there, hidden, essential. And this is where Japan's power comes from. Not from flashy brands, but from trust in perfection, and decades of building mastery, in things the world never notices but always needs. Think about that the next time you unlock your phone. Section 5: What is collective niche strategy? How does Japan dominate the world without dominating the headlines? The answer lies in something called the collective niche strategy. While other nations aim to create giant, all-powerful companies, Japan takes a different path. Instead of one big brand owning everything, dozens of small and mid-sized Japanese firms focus on perfecting just one thing. Take medical endoscopes, for example. You probably know Olympus, but did you know Pentax and Fujifilm also lead in this field? Together, they control over 80% of the global market. In some categories, they hold 100%. No single monopoly, just quiet, shared excellence. This is Japan's secret playbook. Rather than compete with each other, Japanese companies often divide the market and specialize in different layers of the same product ecosystem. It's not always about growth at all costs. It's about stability, reliability, and a relentless pursuit of perfection. This strategy isn't loud, it's not viral, but it works. While Western companies fight for headlines, Japanese companies earn quiet trust through decades of consistency and a culture of cooperation rather than cutthroat competition. Is this why Japan still leads in so many invisible but essential industries? Maybe the real strength is knowing when not to fight. Section 6: China, Korea, and the catch-up game. China makes headlines, Korea sets trends. But why can't either beat Japan in this? It's not a race of speed. It's a race of depth. And Japan has been digging deeper, not just running faster. Let's look at the numbers. China rose from 46th to 17th in the Economic Complexity Index. Korea climbed from 21st to 4th. That's impressive, no doubt. But here's the catch: Japan stayed at number 1 the entire time. Why? Because Japan focuses on areas that are hard to copy. Not mass production, but rare expertise. Fields like semiconductor chemicals, advanced robotics, precision optics, and specialty materials. China can build entire cities overnight. Korea can create cultural waves with K-pop and design. But Japan? Japan builds systems that take decades to perfect. And here's a cultural question for you. Which do you value more? Fast, shiny growth or quiet, lasting strength? Let us know in the comments. The truth is, all three countries are powerful in different ways. But only Japan dominates the unseen layers of technology, the parts that make everything else possible. So even if the world is watching China rise and Korea shine, many of their devices still rely on Japan. The catch-up game is happening. But Japan is playing a different game altogether. Section 7 Hidden Giants in Plain Sight. Ever heard of Ushio, THK, Murata? No? Then you probably don't know who really powers your tech. These aren't household names. They don't show up in Super Bowl ads. They don't sponsor music festivals. But they shape the modern world more than you think. Ushio makes high-intensity lamps used to clean LCD panels. THK invented the LM Guida core part of every precision machine. Murata supplies electronic components that go into smartphones, cars, and medical devices. Then there's Fanicone of the world's top makers of industrial robots, and Keyence known for ultra-precise sensors. Daikin, it dominates global air conditioning. Tokyo Electron, a global leader in semiconductor production equipment. What do they all have in common? Japanese origin, extreme specialization, and quiet domination. These are Japan's hidden giants. They don't shout, they don't brand loudly, but they are everywhere. They operate inside machines, factories, planes, satellites, and surgical rooms. You won't see their names on your devices. But without them, your devices wouldn't work. This is the Japan the world forgets. Not the Japan of anime and sushi, but the Japan of circuitry, material science, and quiet precision. And maybe, just maybe, the real giants aren't the ones you can see. They're the ones you can't afford to lose. Section 8 Why Japan Inside Matters More Than Made in Japan. Your phone says made in China. But what if its brain was made in Japan? In today's world, country labels can be misleading. Just because a product is assembled in one country doesn't mean that's where the real power comes from. Let's take a closer look. Many of the world's smartphones are assembled in China or Vietnam, but the critical components inside, like sensors, capacitors, coatings, and processors, often come from Japan. It's not just phones, it's cars, medical machines, industrial robots, even airplanes. And yet, you won't see a Japan Inside sticker. There's no flashy badge, just quiet reliability. This is Japan's role in the global economy. The essential middle, not the final product, but the core parts that make it work. And that's harder to replace than you think. Why? Because these parts aren't just manufactured. They're mastered. Other countries can copy designs, but Japan perfects function, with precision, with patience, and with pride that doesn't need to shout. So next time you see Made in China, ask yourself, what's really powering it? Maybe the label isn't telling the full story. Section 9 Cultural Precision and Long-Term Thinking. Can a culture obsessed with precision build invisible power? In Japan, perfection isn't a marketing slogan. It's a way of life, a craftsman's pride, a company's identity. You see it in the tea ceremony. You see it in how trains arrive to the second. You see it in packaging, service, and even silence. This obsession with detail isn't just cultural, it's economic. Because when Japan builds something, it's not just about making it work. It's about making it flawless. That's why Japanese components don't fail easily. That's why their machines last longer. That's why their technologies feel trustworthy. And there's something else: time. While the West often seeks quarterly profits, Japan invests in 10-year strategies, 20-year visions, a future they may not live to see, but still feel responsible for. This patience, this calm persistence, is what built Japan's global foundation. One gear, one sensor, one chemical formula at a time. You might call it slow, but slow can be unshakable. Slow can be legendary. So ask yourself, is speed always strength, or is strength sometimes silent? Section 10 The Quiet Superpower of the Future. What if the strongest country of tomorrow doesn't look strong at all? No big army, no social media flash, no global hype machine, just quiet strength. Japan isn't loud, but it doesn't have to be. Because strength isn't about noise. It's about stability, consistency, and mastery earned in silence. In a world chasing speed and attention, Japan chose a different path. A slower one, a quieter one, but maybe a wiser one. Think about what really matters. Not just who shouts the loudest, but who you can count on. When systems fail, when machines break, when precision is life or death, that's where Japan quietly leads. It doesn't seek to impress. It seeks to endure. It doesn't dominate through headlines. It dominates through trust. So maybe the next global superpower won't wave a flag, won't fire a missile, won't trend on TikTok. Maybe it will be the country that builds what others cannot, that perfects what others ignore, and supports the world from behind the scenes. That country might just be Japan. Cultural habits like this may seem small, but they reflect big ideas. How does your culture compare? Let's share and learn from each other. Leave a comment if you'd like. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.